Gareth Wilcox.
Hi, Gareth.
My question is, what's your take on the ever-rising cost of childcare for
Have you got
working
experience
people?
with that, Gareth?
Yeah, I've got 2 children, and it costs an absolute fortune.
How old are they, Gareth?
My son's 6 and my daughter's 3.
Okay, I think I've got a good answer for you. And there's a gentleman on the side.
Morning, my name's Mick Ballard.
Hi.
My question is, there's many people on benefits in this country and need it, and they're losing the benefits, but there's also people abusing benefits.
Yep.
What's your opinion? How would you improve the situation and get those that shouldn't be on it off, and the people who are losing it, get them back on it?
Let me answer you directly. We've got to stop those people abusing the system. So we're the only party in this election saying that if you've been out of work, we'll actually guarantee you a job and you've got no option but to take the job or lose benefits. And we've got to have a benefit system where people who can work do so. And as you say, there are lots of people who are looking for work, can't necessarily find it, and we need to help them. But you can't have a compassionate system if you have a system where people are swinging the lead. And so you're absolutely right about that, and we will make sure there is responsibility in our benefit system. Just on Gareth's question about childcare, it is a massive headache, isn't it, Gareth, for so many families. Let me say very specifically what we'll do. So for all 3- and 4-year-olds, we will expand free nursery provision from 15 hours to 25 hours. Now, I think that's going to make a big difference to working parents, something like 1,500 quid a year, the equivalent of. We're going to pay for it by an increase in the bank levy. And I think it's the right thing to do. And it's the right thing to do for working parents. And by the way, it's the right thing to do for everybody. Because actually, if we have more people at work, more parents at work, I think it's better for the whole country. And it actually goes to the question that Mick just asked me, which is, you know, we need people out at work. But in order to do that, we've got to make sure that work pays. And so it's the two things go together, if you like. It's a welfare system that demands responsibility, and it's a system of work that actually pays for people. And the other thing I'll say, just in passing, is tax credits. There'll be people here who get tax credits. We're the only party in this election saying we're going to protect people's tax credits. The Conservative Party want to cut tax credits even further than they did in this Parliament. I think that's a disaster for working people. And again, it will mean that work doesn't pay for people. And it's that combination of the minimum wage, work, tax credits, childcare. They're the kind of things that will make sure that work pays in our country.
I want to ask one more about health tourism.
Okay, Rob, you get 2 bites of the cherry, Rob.
Yeah. I just want to ask what you're going to do about health tourism, which Nigel Farage made up in his last.
Well, the question
debate.
was asked earlier on about that, and I think you're right. And I think, as I said, you've got to deal with it, and you've got to make sure that when people are coming from other countries, you've got the systems in place that actually other countries reimburse us. And there's this issue about Europe, you see, because look, people are moving around Europe, but we should be using the European budget to actually say that's the way countries should be compensated for the cost to their public services. So that when there's cost to our public services, we actually get helped out with those costs. That is a fair way of doing it.
Why don't you make sure that these visitors have an insurance before they come here, like when we have to go to other countries? We have to have an
Sure.
insurance.
Well, I absolutely agree. We should have fair systems in place, including with other countries, definitely. Now, I'm going to take some media. I'm going to take some media folk, if you don't mind. I'll take Jason. Yeah.
Jason Farrell, Sky News. The Conservatives say that they are taking people on the minimum wage out of tax, that they're going to extend right to buy. Today in their manifesto claiming they are the party for working people. Your reaction?
Look, this is the situation. This weekend, the Tories were trying to claim they could rebuild the NHS with an IOU. Today they're trying to claim that they can fund right to buy with a bounce cheque. The reality about the Conservative Party is that they're the party not of working people. First, last and always, they're the party of the richest in our society. And that is absolutely the case with what they're saying today. And I just want to take you through, Jason, the reality about the announcement today. Look, we support people's right to buy homes, but their offer on right to buy won't work because they haven't found the money to fund it or to build homes. And I just want to give you the facts on this. They claim they can fund this policy by selling off 15,000 homes a year, raising £4.5 billion. But how many homes of this type were actually sold last year? 479. Right? So they've got a plan to raise just 2% of the money required. So just like with health, just like with their tax cuts that they're promising, so on right to buy, they have absolutely no idea where a penny of this money is coming from. Now frankly, that is not going to make the difference that we need to make to people in terms of housing. And it's not either going to build the homes that our country needs. So I've got to say to you, I think this is a deceit by the Conservative Party today, because they haven't found a way of funding it. They're not going to build the homes they need. They're not the party of working people. First, last and always, they're the party of the richest and most powerful in our society. Let me take Carl.
Carl Dinnan, ITV News. Inflation figures out this morning show that inflation is flat again, and that some things like clothing and footwear are coming down in price. And that's good news for, particularly for the working people that you talk about a lot. Do you still think there's a cost of living crisis in this country?
Yes, and I think you should ask people here whether the cost of living crisis is over, and I think they'd tell you there isn't. Look, I welcome any fall that there is in prices for people, and that's a good thing. But the reality, Carl, is that for 5 years we've seen wages fall behind bills, and we've got a situation where so many people in our country are working week after week, month after month, putting in all the hours that God sends, and are finding they're not properly rewarded. Now, if the Conservative Party at this election want to say that they think the cost of living crisis is over and everything's fixed, which is what they say, frankly, I think they are wrong. And let's have the argument about whether this is good enough for Britain, because I don't think this is good enough for Britain. I think Britain can be a lot better than this, and that's what a Labour government would do. Peter?
BBC News. Mr Miliband, do you welcome the reported Tory plan to move people on the minimum wage out of paying income tax?
Well, we've always supported rises in the personal tax allowance, and we've done it in this Parliament. But I think the question you've got to ask about any promise being made by a politician at this election, Labour politicians, Tory politicians, or any other politician, is where is the money coming from? Look, just over the last few weeks, we've got £20 billion of unfunded commitments from the Conservative Party, £8 billion on health, 1.8 billion on rail, 10 billion on tax, without any more unfunded commitments today on housing. It's over 20 billion. It's just totting up every single day. Now, I think for all of the people here, they've got to ask themselves, well, who's going to end up paying for those unfunded commitments? The answer is everybody here is going to end up paying for them, because you've got a Conservative Party that doesn't know where the money's coming from, and what ends up happening is working people pay the price. They pay the price in worse services or higher taxes. And so I think the issue of fiscal credibility of the Conservative Party's manifesto is absolutely on the table today, because they've got to tell us, David Cameron's got to tell us, where is the money coming from? Where is the money coming from for all of the promises that he's making? The reality is they've got no answer on where the money's coming from. And I do think there's a contrast, as I said yesterday at our manifesto launch. Look, Labour is the party, normally it's oppositions that come along with unfunded promises without a clue where they're coming from. That's what the Conservative Party is doing. They're supposed to be the party of government. They're coming along with a whole prospectus without any idea of how to pay for it. I frankly think that is not the right way to conduct an election campaign, and that is not the right way to protect working people in our country. Anybody else who wants to ask a question? Okay, I'm being told I've got to wind up. Look, David, I want to thank you so much for having us here. I want to thank the workforce here for welcoming us. I want to say, look, you know, whatever happens in this election campaign, what I can promise you is that if I'm Prime Minister, I will be a champion for your industry, because I think these are incredibly important jobs. I think they are incredibly important to the future of our country. I think they're incredibly important to British industry. And I think that as Prime Minister, what I will be doing is everything I can to support you, promote what you're doing, and I'll even make a rash promise that I'll come back if I'm Prime Minister. So thank you very much for having me here today. Thank you.